Hello everybody, it's Crazy Logics 007 on YouTube, Crazy Logics in the forum, and everybody else just calls me Damon. Got a little Soundigital 3000.1 Nano in, and I was getting ready to take it apart. I was told that they thought the power terminals or something was broken because they could wiggle it and kind of make it work. And I started to pull it apart and ran into something, and I was like, "Whoa, gotta stop! I gotta record this because this looks crazy. If it's what I think it is." So I'm gonna take my jacket off here. I'm out in the garage and it's cold, so I pulled the sides off here. These are just trims. They come up and then out. They got little tabs that hold them in. And I pulled the bottom cover off, and I noticed it had a little residue from the transformer. The transformer may have got warm. I'm not sure. Kind of looks like it melted against there a little bit. And the reason why I say it may have got warm, I went to take this side piece off. I'd unplugged the fan and pulled the screws, and it wouldn't come off. And then I noticed these silver metal blobs. I got it popped off here, and there's still one stuck in there. I'm looking here, and that looks like the solder off of the power terminals has melted off and ran down here and probably shorted and blew the fuse. The amp may still work if it's soldered, but by golly, I had to take it apart to get a look-see. So let's go ahead and continue to take this whole thing apart. Let's look at the bottom of this board. I'll fast forward through the disassembly of the rest of this. We're just taking the cover off, and then I got a whole bunch of screws to take off here. So a little quick fast forward. And there you have it. The power and ground terminal have all unsoldered themselves. See if I can get this up here where I can get the focus. Basically desoldered themselves and created a short. So let's clean that up, and then we'll test for shorted FETs. And I noticed that it still had the wire, some of the wires attached, but they've melted the connector here a little. So somebody was running this hard, that's for certain. These crazy little Brazilian amps. Looks like we got melting over here from the transformer all along here. There's a nugget of melted solder there. I'm going to really check this over. It'd be amazing if it was still in working order after cleaning up all this solder and fixing all the shorts. We'll see. You never know, it may have killed itself. I'll probably test the FETs real quick. Probably a good idea, because if they're all dead shorted, there ain't even any point in getting the soldering iron after it, is there? So, I'm going to turn my overhead light on here. It may make a little glare, but I need the light because I'm old. A little short there. So for reference, these are all stamped H4 on the power supply side here, and then on the output side looks like A5. And then these are the two rectifiers. All I'm doing is going with continuity from leg to leg, all the legs, to check to see if we have anything. If it gives you a beep and it goes away, it can be charging a cat. Oh, this is the rectifier. Should be continuity on the outside legs. So it doesn't look like it blew anything, but you know, you never know. What we'll do is we'll put it on the current limited supply after we fix up all this. Switch to a big tip, a bigger tip on my soldering iron here. I need to fire up both of them, and I may even need hot air to help get that. I'm going to fire up my desoldering gun, see if we can suck a little of this solder away. But what a mess. Somebody got this thing stinking hot. Let's jack this up to boost. And let's go with the desoldering gun to remove some of this mess. Maybe it'll suck it all up for me. We have to use the soldering iron to help. Boy, I've enjoyed getting this new Hakko 301, FR301. Sure has made a whole lot of desoldering driver boards and a bunch of other stuff much easier. So. I think some of that I can flux back up. Well, that made short work of that. Let's get a little bit of flux. Flux is about to be a mess. I got a new tube, but all this, it's just a mess. There's good flux on there. Clean this all up. Get a little solder braid on it too. All right. Make sure all this new leaded solder gets mixed in it, so I'm kind of going around the whole thing to make sure the flux works its way, and we get even heating. Make sure I'm still on boost. Yeah. So that's all cleaned up. Not going to be very chatty. I'm trying to blow this away. I don't have my ventilation all set up. Don't want to breathe in all these fumes. Just on the board when I clean up. Back along this trace. Thicken it back up with some solder. Thankfully the remote is holding this in place still. I'm trying to get some solder all around it here. And see if we can't get this hot enough to flow. It's a big terminal. I'm going to add some hot air to it. Deoxid's in the way. Just to help get that whole pad good and hot. I want this to bond real well. Now to the next one. Once again, I'm going to flow leaded solder kind of all the way around it. I'm going to add some extra heat with the hot air. Try to get this sucker to bond real good, and then we'll fill it in with some extra solder to build it up for current handling capability. Because apparently this thing will pull some serious current, enough to melt solder. They had it way too much. Of course, it may have been something to do with the transistor shorting or the transformer shorting out there. This thing could be junk. Well, they may be doing all this for naught. Looks like that's got good and hot. Yeah, there we go. That is a whole ton of heat in that board. I'm going to go grab a drink, let this cool off, then we'll clean it and we'll give it a little test. I'll see you in a minute. That flux that I use is a no clean flux, but that pin right there for that cap, but I don't like leaving it on there. It's a sticky mess. I want it to, now so I'm going to put some solder where that cap is. It's a little bit like it got a little dry. There we go. All right. I got lucky. Here we are in the middle of a pandemic and try to repair electronics, and you need very high alcohol content, rubbing alcohol for cleaning. I happen to get 3 bottles of this, of the 91. I should have grabbed more. I went back the next day and they were all gone. But you can't use anything less than the 91 to clean the electronics. Really wish they weren't making so much hand sanitizer, I guess. I've heard, if you're looking for stuff to clean, I've heard some of the guys have had better luck ordering the industrial stuff online. That's like 99.9%. That's considered an industrial cleaner. So if you're looking for some, maybe you'll have a little bit better luck that way. Alright, let's just slap her back in the heatsink for a little testing here. Very carefully set her down in there. Part of what you're paying on these tar amps and Soundigitals, I'm here to tell you, is all the screws they attach it down with. It's hilarious. I'm going reverse because I'm trying to get the screw to drop down in the original threads. That's a big secret on aluminum and plastics. I'm sure I mentioned it in the video before, and then hundreds of other YouTube repair guys, whatever they're working on. Uh-oh, about to sneeze. Hang on just a second. Whew. No, I don't have the Rona. Not yet, anyway. I've been fortunate. I do still have allergies, though. A little dust or whatever in my nose. So yeah, anytime you're putting a coarse thread screw back into aluminum or plastic, if you spin it backwards, you'll feel it drop down in the original thread, and you can run back in, and that way you're not chewing up the material. And you're going to end up with stripped out holes. Which is something that you may need to service more than once is really important. And I don't want to be the guy to tear up the holes, because this amp may last another 10 years if it's okay, or maybe another year, or who knows, depending on the abuse it sees, and somebody else may have to get in here and work on it. They may blow something the next time. Of course, it may be blown now. We don't know yet. None of the fits tested shorted. Definitely had come apart on its solder of its power connection, so somebody was pulling a hell of a lot of current. Might have been enough to kill it, you never know. So anytime I do clamp bars, especially like Rockford Mesha strips, if that's the way you pronounce that, I work from the inside out. So I'll start in the middle and work my way out. That helps squeeze thermal paste, stuff like that. Apply even pressure. If you're a mechanic, you know about either torque sequences or how to properly tighten down valve covers, etc., stuff like that, make sure the gaskets doesn't get squished out, stuff like that, or squishes the correct way, all that stuff. So sometimes putting a little thought into how you take something apart, put it together, it's worth it. Make sure you work your way out to even pressure. Okay. So, too big, that's one too big. Let's see, the cover will be here, and so B plus is there. That's the one that melted a little bit. We are hooked up. So if you're buying old amps or used amps, you need to get you a 2 ohm resistor, depending on what you got for a power supply. But if you got like a 20 amp power supply or something like that, you need to put a fuse on the end line. I have I'll show you half of the fuse holder here. The other half will stay connected, but this is just on my test bench. So I got this style of fuse holder, little inline fuse holder. The other side clips on there. Put a no bigger than a 10 amp fuse in it, and a 2 ohm resistor in series in this for current limiting. It's like using a light bulb when you're doing work on AC electronics. so if there's a short, the light bulb will light up instead of burning up the AC electronics. That 2 ohm resistor, big wattage, you know, like 100 watt, 50 watt, something like that. It'll if there's a short or something, it'll eat it up. Now that's if you just have regular old power supply or kind of running off a battery that you've charged or something. I use a lab style power supply that's adjustable on its voltage and adjustable on its current limit. So I just have it, the one I've got's got a 3 amp current limit, so it'll just sit there and only let 3 amps into this thing as it powers up, which sometimes it takes a little while to power up because of that current limit, you know, for charging up caps and stuff. That cap, that might be a little swollen. That's definitely flat, but I don't know. That one feels okay. So let's see, what do we have for lights and indicators on this one? Anything? I did not. Oh, here we go, on the side here. So we got power, protect, and clip. So we're not doing anything besides turning it on. I'm feeding it 13.5 volts. I've got my little foot switch to the remote, so I can just pulse it. So that should be the protect. Light comes on, which most amps do that. Then it's going to go, and holy crap. So I need to tilt that so you guys can see it. And then it goes through and bam. Says it's on. So the only way to know for sure is to put a little music to it and see what happens. I need to see what all we got here and adjust it. So we got the bass boost. Okay, it was all the way down. That's good. The gain. The gain was set right in the middle, so that's good. Checking the settings of an amp can tell you a lot about who was fixing it. So low pass crossover. Plus that allows you to feel the pots, so we're going to set that at about there, I guess. I don't know. The high was way up here. We're just going to leave that high. I'm not sure why it's got a high pass. Maybe it's full range. Not a super big fan of full range Class D. Oscilloscope probe has got wound up in here. It needs to be up there. All right. We power this whole thing up. Hook some speakers up to it. Okay, so I'm going to power it up again with the RCA's hooked up, and this is kind of set, but we're not going to feed any signal. We're just going to test. Sometimes when you hook up the speaker, that'll throw it into protect, or you hook up the RCA. Now we can go and we can turn on my radio here. Song will start playing. We'll give it a minute to get into the song so that we can slowly turn it up. It's playing. Can you believe that? Melted out the power, and we must have just got lucky that he was running it, so he or she, I don't know who, was just running it so hard that they slowly melted the solder out of it, got it so hot. So one thing I will do is I will test this fan, probably unmount it here and put a drop of oil, peel the sticker up on the back side, put a drop of, take this fan off, there should be a sticker on this side of the fan, put a drop of oil on it, make sure it spins up and goes real good, and then I'll give this good hard test on the test bin. But how crazy is that? Soundigital 3000 watt amp, and it melted, somebody melted the solder off the terminals and it survived. Just had to be cleaned up and resoldered, and we're playing music, man. Crank it up a little here. So this is the low pass. Awesome beans, man. Hey, thanks for watching. Thought this was kind of funny. And I'll see you guys next time.